Deep in the Congo Basin, a critical tool for fighting climate change is dying. Poaching and deforestation has reduced the population of African forest elephants to about 1/10 of its original size. And one of their biggest advocates is an economist.
I haven't had much sleep since 2017.
Ralph Shami works for the International Monetary Fund. He thinks the best way to protect these forest elephants is to put a price tag on them. And he's come up with a number.
If you think that elephant is worth 30,000 because you get its ivory, a living elephant is worth a lot more. It's worth 2 million.
Shami isn't pricing them to sell them. He's attaching a financial value to the services they provide. He's part of a group of researchers, economists, and policymakers advocating for a whole new way of valuing biodiversity and funding conservation. That includes assigning elephants a value and using that cash value to raise money for their protection before it's too late. So, what exactly makes this elephant worth $2 million? This is the world's largest carbon capture machine, turned on last year in Iceland. It sucks carbon dioxide out of the air and pumps it deep underground. Companies hope to build many more machines like this, but running them remains extremely expensive. Each machine can only remove about 4,000 tons of carbon dioxide from the atmosphere each year, the equivalent of the emissions of about 300 Americans, so millions would be needed. A better place to look for answers might be someplace that's already removing more carbon dioxide from the atmosphere than it emits. Someplace like Gabon, a country in Central Africa that, thanks to its rainforests, sequesters 100 million tons of carbon from the atmosphere each year. A lot of that is thanks to its forest elephants.
Comme on l'a appris à l'école, l'éléphant fait partie des plus grands jardiniers de la forêt. Son extinction totale viendrait à dire qu'on n'aura plus de forêt au lendemain de demain ou encore dans les jours à venir.
Ugo Bikong is a lab assistant at the Elephant Research Lab of Gabon's National Parks Agency, where he and his colleagues study the largest remaining population of forest elephants in the world. Africa once had more than 1 million forest elephants, but thanks to habitat loss and poaching, they're now categorized as critically endangered. These elephants have an important job. They help forests expand by clearing out small competing plants, freeing up water and light for larger trees. They also consume and then poop out many different types of plants without digesting the seeds, seeding new plants with fertilizer provided. But what does that mean in terms of their value?
It's really hard to pinpoint the value of biodiversity. Understanding particular aspects of the interaction between animals and the ecosystem and climate and these greenhouse gases.
Fabio Berzaghi is an ecologist who studies the role species play in large-scale ecological processes. He wanted to study how much larger forests grow when they're home to elephant herds, so he compiled a huge amount of data from 2 field sites in the Congo Basin, one with a declining elephant population and one whose elephant population had gone extinct. Then he conducted a bunch of simulations to see how elephant activity was impacting the forest size. Berzaghi found that if forest elephants were to go extinct, the Congo Basin's rainforest would lose 7% of their biomass, about 3 billion tons of carbon that would otherwise be in the atmosphere. But he needed to figure out what this meant in terms of dollars, so he got in touch with Ralph Shami, who had been doing similar studies on blue whales.
I have to translate the science into the language of the markets.
Using market forces to fund conservation isn't a new idea. Countries and businesses pay billions of dollars to offset their carbon emissions through carbon markets, transferring money to projects that curb deforestation or restore wetlands, for instance. This essentially puts a dollar value on nature's ability to remove carbon dioxide from the atmosphere and provide other key ecological services. But no one had really done this for wildlife.
I need to make a value proposition to the markets to say, come in and look. If you think that whale, that you can sell it for its oil or meat is worth 40,000, a living whale is worth 4 million. Suddenly, the businesses start to say, are you crazy? Which is fine. That's the first reaction. I love that reaction. And then they go through the mathematics. They realize it's their own language. And they tell you, how do I make money off of it? This is where I want them, exactly there.
Using the data from Berzaghi and his team, Shami reached a price tag for an elephant's lifetime value in terms of how much they enhance the carbon stock of their forests, about $1.75 million. The question is who's going to pay that amount to the Gabonese people to protect their elephants, since the carbon market doesn't currently offer a way to invest directly in animals that help sequester carbon dioxide from the atmosphere, which gave one British entrepreneur a business idea.
We have a tendency to look for tech that is out there to resolve our problems. My personal issue is, do I want to live on a planet full of machines absorbing carbon, but that is devoid of forests, of beautiful elephants, of giraffes, of cheetahs, all number of species which are on the path of extinction simply because we don't value their services?
Walid Al-Sakaf is the CEO of Rebalance Earth, a startup he's formed with Shami, Herzagi, and others, hoping to create a market for keystone species like Gabon's elephants. Their plan is to pay researchers for access to motion-activated cameras and sensors that the researchers have already set up around the country to monitor elephants. For each unique elephant they spot each day, they'll release funds directly to rangers and the local communities. A lot still needs to be ironed out. First, they need to build an AI to identify unique elephants. Then, they're hoping to put the whole thing on a private blockchain to build accountability and make it easier to pay Gabonese people directly, rather than going through the government. The end result, though, would be paying about $40 per unique elephant sighted each day. Once the team has got more research bolstering their project, they hope to get third-party verification that their carbon credits are legitimate, so they can command premium rates. This could be applied to other animals as well, such as the orangutans in Indonesia.
Imagine a scenario where suddenly Indonesia, let's say, realizes, you know what, we're making X amount of billion from palm oil forest, but we could be making more by maintaining the existing keystone species. They could be making more long-term sources of revenue. And then suddenly you have a different conversation around natural capital.
Back in Gabon, it's not just a matter of prioritizing wildlife conservation, but of maintaining public support for it. The country's free-roaming elephants don't just stick to the forest. They eat and trample crops and cause significant damage to villages. And because of poaching and climate change, these kinds of human-elephant conflicts are becoming more common.
If the people of Gabon do not support conservation and sustainable development, then Gabon will not be able to continue the progress that we've made.
Conservationists hope that putting a dollar value on these elephants, which could lead to more money for schools and hospitals, could sway public opinion.
I personally believe that focusing on keystone species such as forest elephants provides a more holistic approach to fighting climate change, protecting biodiversity, and lifting communities out of poverty. There is no silver bullet out there for resolving all these things. We're just here to educate the market on a new, innovative approach.